Welcome back to the Anfield Exchange, and Jarrell Quansah today will be leaving for Bayer Leverkusen. So he's got his medical lined up for today. I don't imagine there's going to be any issues there. And I think this is a good signing for Leverkusen. It's a good sale for Liverpool as well. We've got a young lad who's come through the academy, who's had a little bit of a tough time of things of late. I think he came through in 2024. He looked phenomenal. He looks brilliant. And he looked like the next big thing who could be potentially Virgil van Dijk's replacement. Last season under Arne Slot, it wasn't really going that way. He didn't get the opportunities. I remember him being taken off at half-time in the first game of the season against Ipswich, and his opportunities were few and far between. I personally thought when he played last year, he did okay. There were some games where I thought he played really well. The problem with Quansah is he didn't get enough game time, so come the last 10, 15, 20 minutes, he was running out of steam, he was tired, and that was just purely from a lack of game time. But in terms of the financials, it's £30 million, and then it's £5 million in add-ons. I actually think that's a really good deal for Liverpool, and there is a potential to buy him back for, I think it's 60 to 70 million. So if Jarrell Quansah spends, say, that 60 million comes into play from 2027. So if Jarrell Quansah stays for 2 years, which he will do, and he starts to perform like the Jarrell Quansah of 2024, and he really starts to put some performances in, we've always got the option to bring him back to Liverpool. Now, whether we'll take him up on that, I'm not sure, and I've got a few reservations. One of the reservations being Bayer Leverkusen have been a very good team now for 2 years. 2024, they went unbeaten, and they won the league. They went unbeaten in all competitions, bar the last game of the season in the Europa League against, I think it were Atlanta. But yeah, I think the last couple of seasons have been very, very solid, very, very good, and Xabi Alonso's been a big part of that. Now, he's obviously left for Real Madrid. Whether he'll get Real Madrid playing the same way that Bayer Leverkusen were playing, I'm not sure. But they've opted to bring in Erik ten Hag. Now, we all know Erik ten Hag from his Man United days. We all laughed at him every weekend. But I think there's a manager in there. You see it time and time again where a manager comes to Man United and can't handle the pressure of a job, and it seems to happen with every manager we get at the minute. If you go back sort of to October, November, when Ruben Amorim came in, he's obviously had a shocking season with Man United. Liverpool fans were after Ruben Amorim as a manager 12 months ago. So yeah, with Erik ten Hag, I think there's a manager in there. If you look at what he did at Ajax and that run that he got in the Champions League, I definitely think he's one of those managers who can bring young players through, and he can develop those players as well. I just don't think we got to see it at Man United. Now, not only have they changed manager, they've let the star player in Florian Wirtz go, they've let Jeremie Frimpong go, they've let the leader at the back, Jonathan Targo, who obviously Jarrell Quansah will come in to replace. There's rumours that more may leave Bayer Leverkusen. So the worry for me is, what Bayer Leverkusen is Jarrell Quansah going to? Because if it's going to be Bayer Leverkusen who are battling for Champions League and trying to get into the Champions League spots like they have in the past and potentially end up in the Europa League or the Conference League, then we might not see as much development from Jarrell Quansah as what we want to see. And that's not necessarily a bad thing for Liverpool, because as things stand, we've sold the player, we've got the money. It just means we probably won't buy him back later down the line. I personally think I would love to see Jarrell Quansah back at Liverpool. I just hope this game time helps him develop and helps him reach the ceiling that we all believed he had under Jurgen Klopp back in 2024. Now, the problem for me is, where does it leave Liverpool? So, obviously, Liverpool, I can't remember the last time we actually signed a centre-back. I think it was Konate a few years back, who looks like he could be on his way out. But, yeah, where does it leave Liverpool? Because I thought we were shy in the defensive department before Jarrell Quansah left. Now, it's becoming a worry for me. We've seen reports that Mark Guehi might be coming into Liverpool. If we can get the price down from, I think Palace are looking for 40 to 50 million. I think we want to pay around the 30 to 35 pound mark. So there's a lot of work to be done on that deal yet. But I think we definitely need to bring in a centre back, if not two, to be honest. We've got obviously Joe Gomez, who I would love to see him play some games for Liverpool. He came back from injury towards the end of the season, but it's just, when do we give up hope on Joe Gomez playing for Liverpool? Because we see it every year. He picks up an injury. He misses the majority of a season. As good as a player I think Joe Gomez is, we can't rely on Joe Gomez to be the backup. At the minute, are we looking at potentially Endo playing as a centre back? I hope not, because I like what Endo does in terms of coming on with 10, 15, 20 minutes to go just to see a game out, breaking everything up in that midfield. I'd like to continue seeing Endo in that role. There's reports potentially that we may look to play Ryan Gravenberch as a sort of centre back / hybrid midfielder, which I think Arne Slot did last season with Endo himself in the cup. I think 2 games were in the cup against Southampton and against Brighton as well, I think it was. And to be fair, it worked quite well, but it's not going to work in those bigger games against better competition, I don't think. But again, that's something he could potentially be looking at, and obviously if Ryan Gravenberch is going to play that role, maybe it will improve us. But yeah, I definitely think we do need to. I definitely think we need to bring in a couple of defensive covers, to be honest. Maybe a look to the youth academy. We've got a couple of players in the youth academy. Nallo, I think you'll all remember Amara Nallo, who came on in the Champions League against PSV, and he got sent off after about 30 seconds. It was tough, but we didn't really see too much of him there. But that's potentially one way that we might go. We might be looking to bring through the next Jarrell Quansah that will help with PSR if we decide to sell them later down the line for, again, what we've done for Quansah, 35 million. But there's another lad as well in the academy, Carter Pinnington. He's got high potential. A lot of reports coming out of the club that the club believe in this player. It's probably going to be too early to just throw him in as a fourth choice centre back, I think, because if you look at the injury records to the likes of Gomez and the likes of Konate, you're probably asking for Liverpool to rely on this lad more than what they'd want to rely on him. He's only young, so you don't want to throw him in there. You certainly don't want a situation where you're playing Carter Pinnington and Virgil van Dijk against Man City, against Arsenal in these big games. That's not what you're looking for. But yeah, there's a lot of moving parts in this window. I think the deal for Mark Guehi, I think that will happen from Palace. He's available to leave on a free transfer at the end of the new season, the upcoming season. So I think Crystal Palace will be looking to try and get as much money for him as possible right now. And it looks like Liverpool are, I don't want to say the only suitors, but when Liverpool were involved, they basically are the only suitors. Mark Guehi has allegedly come out and said that he wants to move to Liverpool. So I think it's just a case now of trying to find the right financial package for Liverpool and for Crystal Palace, which I think will probably be around the £40 million mark, which then leads you on to Konate as well. Obviously, there's a lot of reports coming out with Konate that potentially he's going to be leaving on a free at the end of the season. Would you sell him now? What do you do with him? It's a tough one because we've just seen Trent Alexander-Arnold, who has run his contract down. He's gone to Real Madrid, and no matter, even though we've offered him a contract, there's nothing really we can do about him leaving. He's rejected the contract. He's had his eyes set on Real Madrid, and I think this could be a similar situation with Konate. It's easy for us to say, yeah, if he's going to go on a free transfer, you've got to sell him this summer. But at the end of the day, if Liverpool put him on the market, for example, and this is not Footy Manager, it's not FIFA. If you put Konate on the market and you advertise a player, and let's, for example, say PSG come in with a £60 million bid, Liverpool accept the bid. If Konate's got his heart set on Real Madrid, he can just reject that contract from Paris Saint-Germain. And that's a problem. The ball is in Konate's court. If Konate doesn't sign a contract with us, and if we try to sell him and he rejects contracts from anywhere else, we end up in this situation where Konate is getting to the end of his contract at the end of the season and he leaves for nothing. And it's a horrible situation to be in. We've just been through it. It seems to be the way that Real Madrid are working now. Whether that's because of obviously the rejection of the Super League a few years back, and La Liga's just not bringing in the same money. But look, it's Real Madrid. They've got the money to spend if you want to. But we just seem to prefer this type of transfer. But yeah, if he's got his heart set on Real Madrid, and I think we have to accept that Konate won't be playing for us. And I think we all know as well, Arne Slot is not the type of player to leave Konate on the bench if he is our second best centre back. So I think the thing you've got to do, I think what Liverpool should be looking at doing, and I hope Mark Guehi isn't this because I don't think he's as good as Konate, but I think Liverpool need to be looking for a Konate replacement now. So bring in two centre backs, Mark Guehi being one, and another centre back. But then Mark Guehi's not going to come and be fourth choice centre back. That's just not going to happen because he's not going to get any game time. He'll be playing Aki Stanley in the Carabao Cup. So I think Guehi could be the one they've identified to replace Konate, if I'm honest. I don't like it, but again, you've just got to put your trust in what Richard Hughes and what Michael Edwards are doing. I'm sure it'll all work out. But yeah, for me, it looks like Konate probably will be leaving on a free transfer at the end of the season, unless Liverpool can match what he wants in terms of the financials. I don't think Konate doesn't enjoy being at the club. I think quite the opposite. I think he loves being at the club. I think when he's being paid 70 grand a week and he sees Virgil van Dijk on the other side of him, who's being paid 350, 400k a week, I think he's got every right to ask for a pay rise. But that being said, last season was the first season where Konate's stayed relatively injury free. Before that, he's had a lot of injuries and he's missed a lot of games. So there's a line need to be drawn somewhere. I think there should be a contract on the table for Konate, but I don't think Konate is going to get what he's expecting to get from Liverpool. I would imagine Liverpool were offered somewhere in the region of £180,000 a week, which I think is more than enough for Konate. But if he doesn't want to do it, he can leave on a free to Real Madrid. But yeah, I mean it does leave Liverpool in a tough situation now that we've sold Jarrell Quansah. I think we probably should have had a centre-back lined up before we let him go, unless we already have, and it's just not been broadcast all over social media at a minute. But yeah, I think we just got to trust Liverpool that we know what we're doing and trust that we're going to bring in reinforcements in that position. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you think Mark Guehi is coming in to replace Konate. Obviously, there's a World Cup coming up, and Guehi's going to want to be playing first-team football in one of the top leagues in Europe to ensure that he gets into that World Cup squad for England. But yeah, let me know if you think Guehi's the right man to come in. Let me know if you think we need to bring someone else in, and if so, who do you think we should bring in? Because I think there's a lot of good centre-backs out there. It's just whether they're available at the minute. I'm a big fan of Castello Luqueba at Leipzig. I think he would be a fantastic signing. Obviously, there's reports with Jarrell Hato that are coming out in the media again. So, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. But Jarrell Quansah, off to Bayer Leverkusen, potentially could come back to Liverpool in a couple of years' time if his development goes the way we want it to go. But Liverpool will definitely be in the market for a centre-back this summer. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll see you on the next one.